Hey guys, welcome back. The Detour podcast. Been a very long time since we've said that.
We
I'm
had a
your host
break.
Dan Jones.
We had a good break, Dan, but we're back strong. You're struggling a bit, but hey, there you go. So we've got the voice of cycling, and even more importantly, the voice behind the voice of cycling.
Yeah, it's kept me awake. It's been a long night.
Phil Liggett is back in Australia.
Midnight last night, or 12:30 they got here, and there was a party raging outside, so they went and had a pint at the party. So I'm proud of the boy.
I've got to tell you that we came here. We came here on Qatar, and the flight was magic. Great food and great people. So we slept 15 hours. So who wanted to go to bed at 12:30 when I just slept for 15 hours?
Kicked the goal, the old Qatar, haven't they? Yeah, anyway.
15 hours in economy class. That's great going.
No, I weren't quite in economy class. We were on the outside wing, actually.
No, they're very good, Qatar. And how's it feel to be finally back down under, Phil? It's been a couple of years.
It's down. It'll be 3 years. I can't believe it. Next coming February. It was that last time we were here in 2020. Time has flown by, but I feel as though I'm back home now. And the only bad news is I'm sat next to Iffy. What can I say?
Well, you're back. You're back in Australia. If he's already got you wearing the sponsors kit as soon as you land, you got the Citroen shirt. I've got the Citroen Bay Crits logo in the background. Got the studio set up, ready to go. Iffy for tomorrow. It's going to be a big 3 days, mate.
Dan's leading our production team, doing all the live streaming for SBS. So
okay,
he's just shot an amazing documentary for the Western Warriors, which is just getting rave reviews because while he was making it, they decided to win the premiership as well. So it makes
Western United Football Club.
United,
what did you call them? The Western Warriors. Who are the Western Warriors?
It's a better title.
Cricket team, I think.
Title,
maybe whatever. Yeah. But anyway, Western United. So he did a great job there. He's just been producing the cricket for South Africa. So all the Test cricket is finished. Dan's been doing that. So he's stepping up. We'll be lucky to get another detour out of him. He's sort of almost stepped up out of our stratosphere. But we'll see how we go.
Well, we're here New Year's Eve. That's the main thing. We're here New Year's Eve. We've committed. And obviously, if you've got a big couple of days ahead with the Citroen Bay Crits. What can you tell the viewers? Because it's not like you to pump up the Bay Crits, but now it's actually legit. It starts tomorrow.
Well, look, I'll start with Citroen. I mean, a fantastic French company. I drove one of their car that was the lead car is the C5X. And I drove it for the last 2 weeks of the Vuelta this year. And what a beautiful car. Amazing car. They do everything for you. Matter of fact, Dave Sanders is driving one at the moment, and he said, it does too much. He said, I'm a driver. I don't want this car doing everything for me. He was complaining about it. They do too much. But amazing car. So great for them to come up. And I've got a shout out to Brett Robinson, who's the main dealer here, one of the big dealers. He's got Bayside Citroen, plus a stack of others, but he's a cycling person. His young son, Zach, is racing in the Bay Crits. Oh. And when we were needing another car sponsor, I was told to talk to, there we are. There's BJ at the launch with Brett Lancaster, and Brett's big fella son there.
He looks good.
Yeah, he's a good boy, isn't he?
Geez, Brett could have smiled,
Luca, he's a bit like his own man. And that's young Zach, who's Brett's son. And they're the same age. You wouldn't think so, would you? And I can't think of the gorgeous young lady there, but she's the Victorian champion in her age group as well. That's got me now. You tricked me with that photo. But wonderful partners to come on. And, this could be the start of a long friendship, I think, so which is great. But, yeah, it's great to be back. We're back to 3 days. We were only 2 days last January. So this year back to 3 days. And we've got the hot dog back. So we missed that last year. So 2 really good circuits starting tomorrow. I think it'll start about midday. And that's with the under 11s. Go right down. So we've got the state championship sponsored by Spirit of Tasmania, which is all of the different age groups, right up to under 17s. And then we've got the Masters as well. So a whole stack of different sections of the men's and women's Masters. And of course, the Damien Drapac Trophy for the support race for men and women. So wonderful a connection we've had with the Drapac family of recent times to commemorate a beautiful life, taken away miles too short. But it's pretty special. So it starts tomorrow with the 1.8, the big circuit up in the Eastern Gardens. It's what we call the easy way. It's pretty tough circuit either way, but tomorrow is the easier way because they get sort of run it the only hill. Whereas on Monday, when the reverse situation, it's much tougher. The hill, you die very early on and you have to climb all the way up into the park, so it's much harder.
Yeah. And then we finish on the hot dog on the third day.
The famous hot dog. Yes.
Gotta have the hot dog.
It's always the fastest of the criteriums.
Yeah,
there's only two places you use your brakes, going in at the bottom end or the top end of the corners. I can't tell you the number of collarbones we've lost on that top end.
I was going to say, have you got someone with a broom iffy on that second corner after the finish line?
We've got the sweeper going around beforehand to make sure they're all right. Look, we're pretty well sussed it out. I mean, riders, they keep blaming sand and whatever. It's about changing your course. You're on full tilt when you go around there. If you change your course 1 iota, if someone moves a bit on you, you have to keep the same line. The minute you change your line, the centrifugal force puts pressure on you and down you go. So it's as simple as that.
So bike error, definitely not the course.
So that's a great shot there. Luke Platt was supposed to be there for that launch, but they got COVID hit. I think Georgia got COVID, so they couldn't get down. Last year, Plappy was supposed to ride last January, and he got COVID and didn't start. So we're fingers crossed that he turns up tomorrow. But
that's a thing of the past, that COVID. Nobody talks about it anymore.
Well, they are here, mate, because it's everywhere. I can tell you what, we really didn't have a TV broadcast tomorrow, but we won't go into that.
Oh, boy.
No, it's all good. We're all good. Now, Phil, the history of the Bay Classic, I mean, we do rib Iffy a fair bit about the Bay Crits, but you look at, particularly in the early days, like some of the names that used to race around these circuits, I mean, it was the who's who of cycling.
Yes, it was. And if memory serves me right, John, because I wasn't here, but I remember Phil Anderson getting his only pro win in the Bay Classics, didn't he?
That's right. Well, that's
Barwin Heads, I think it was.
Ocean Grove.
Ocean Grove.
Yeah, just next door.
I wasn't there, Dan.
No, but it's true. I think it was 93.
I think it was very early on.
And it was the only race he ever raced in Australia from the day he turned pro back in 1980.
Which was a great shame.
Which was a shame. He should have ridden a lot of other races, but that was the only one.
Money.
Well,
you see,
folding cash was the thing that got him there. But
the Tour of Romania, and the Tour of Switzerland, the Tour of Ireland.
Cadell Evans, one of his first ever road races, was the Bay Crits. I can remember. It was, back in early 90s, maybe mid to late in the 90s, 97 maybe. And watching it, there was a race right around the Novotel, the biggest circuit we don't use anymore. And I remember watching this. The group went away with Robbie McEwen and Rick McKaig and a few of the top hitters. And there was about 6 or 7 of them. We're going to lap the field, you could tell. And then this skinny little kid, he's only 17, jumped out, was chasing them. And I said to Dave Sanders, I said, who's that kid? He said, no, it's a mountain biker, Cadell Evans. First I thought, what's a Cadell? I'd never heard that name before. And I said, he's a bit more than that. So they lapped the field, and then Cadell kept going on his own and lapped the field as well. And I thought, that's the first time I noticed him. So it's got a lot of that. Robbie McEwen won a stack of times, Mark Renshaw, all those big stars. Kathy Watt won the first women's one, which was about 94, 95. And
gold medals
Anna Millward, Chloe Hoskins, Rochelle Gilmore, all the big stars of cycling. Anna Wilson. Well, I said Anna Millward because it was
okay.
Changed it. But it's back to Anna Wilson. That was the name she hasn't got anymore. So
was the Ocean Grove stage the year that you split your jeans on the podium when you were doing the announcing?
Yes, that was good.
Tell that story, John.
I would have remembered that, Dan, so you must be right. I definitely wasn't there for that one.
Well, I don't know. You might have been. I think it might have been the one Phil Anderson won, actually. But, so I was up on the presentation truck and I slipped over and did the splits, and so did my jeans. So and we were right in front of a jeans shop. So I ducked. I said, "Mate, give me a pair of jeans. I'll fix up." And as I put him on, I said, "I'll give you a few plugs." So I gave him quite a few plugs that afternoon, and he never charged me for the jeans. So it was a win-win.
But I've pinched the top riders for the elite women and the elite men. That Matt Keane and Gracie Alvin, who are going to be doing the commentary, who they've already pinpointed. Here's the list for the women, Iffy. And I believe there's one name missing that you would have had on there.
There is one name.
Do you want to go through? Go through the names and the teams.
For those who aren't watching it on Facebook or YouTube, Ruby Rose McGannon and Georgia Baker, both riding in the Bayside Citroen team. That'd be hard to beat with the two of them there. But then you've got Chloe Hosking, who's won it twice before. Valentino Scandalara, who's also won it before. Young Lucy Stewart is one of, and Emily Watts, two of our young up-and-comers. Mm-hmm. But the one who's missing from that, who's only missed one Bay Crits in the last 10 years, I think, is Amanda Spratt. So Spratty, it was a glitch. You're always in, but for some reason, you at some stage you got moved around and an iffy story, but anyway, she is riding, and as always, great to have Amanda Spratt racing.
Let's have a look at the contenders that they've pinpointed for the men. If they missed anyone on this list,
well, probably quite a few because there's a lot of good bike riders in there. So Blake Quick, his name says it all, doesn't it? He is very quick, and he won this last year. You got BJ down there, Brenton Jones, who really delivered him last year, and Brenton's a former winner himself. And it's a beautiful story is that it's his final race. And I just wonder, and I don't know anything, whether Blake might just go, you know what, I won it last year, and it's your final race. Maybe we'll just turn it around and I'll ride for you. I don't know that that's going to happen, but it'd be a lovely story if it did. Yeah. And, of course, Simon Clarke, who last year, when he rode in this, and he was fantastic, actually, but he didn't have a contract. But he just said, I'll ride him, mate. No worries. I need to get, a bit of form for the Nationals. I've got to win the Nationals. I've got to, because his team had collapsed. He had a really good team, but they collapsed, as we know, the South African team. And so it was on day 2 of this race, only 2 days last January. He got the call, and by the next day he was on a plane and off to a training camp with Israel Premier Tech, and ended up having one of his great years with that amazing stage win in the Tour de France. Now, how good was that, Phil?
It was fantastic, and I waxed lyrical when he won that stage because I was so pleased for him, Dan. There's a lovely picture of him. Boy, he was happy. It was so important for the team as well, and he delivered. He just started riding for them. 7 months into his contract, he won a stage of the Tour. I said earlier that I remember when Simon came to the Singapore Grand Prix, which I commentated on a few years back, on the Formula One race circuit, finished on the actual finishing line, the racing cars. And he was riding there with, I think, Stewie O'Grady was with him. But it was Simon that delivered the goods that day, and he won that crit. He's a guy that you want to see win because he put so much work into his bike.
Great team man, exactly. Yeah. And look, his brilliant second place in Amstel Gold was something else, although he was riding behind a motorbike that day in Vanderpoel, who did one of the greatest rides of all time, but still he ran second, which in a classic, in one of our big classics, which is a great ride. And he won the polka dot jersey in the Vuelta one year. So, and a great stage win on top of the mountain where he beat what's his name, the big Dutch climber. I can't think of his name now, but anyway, Dumoulin, was it Dumoulin he beat, or no, the other guy? Anyway, I can't remember, but it was a great win, and so he's been a good biker for a long time. Of course, won the Sun Tour on the year that they cancelled the last stage because of the bushfires, but he was going to win it anyway. But no, been around for a long time. He was I think he won a world title as a junior, or definitely placed in a world title as a junior on the track. So
We've had him on the show a couple of times, but he was obviously part of Cadel Evans's world championship ride in 2009, and he was part of the famous team meeting prior to the start where they said that they were going to ride for Simon Gerrans, and obviously Cadel tried to say, hey, guys, I live around here. I know the course. Why don't we ride for me?
I'm set.
And then he was left with Simon Clarke, who was in charge of just looking after Cadell, and earpieces came out, and the rest is history.
Well, he had a faulty earpiece that day, evidently, Cadell. So he couldn't hear any instructions coming from Neil Stevens.
But I think Simon Clarke's story, we've talked about it a lot, and I'm uploading the video after his Tour de France stage win, because obviously it's the last show of the year. We can reflect and show some old clips, but it really is a story, one of the best stories I've heard in cycling in terms of that determination and never giving up, Phil. Like most people, most normal people would go, hang on, it's December, I don't have a contract, it's pretty much going to be it, but he didn't do that. He stayed fit. And talking to Zach Dempster, when he arrived at camp, not only was he there ready to go and give it his best shot, his form was sensational. So he picked up results early in the year to basically say, I'm not a charity case. That's it. It was the Bay Crits that got him to that top level. But it's a great example for young people particularly to follow, in particular, not giving up.
No, he still looks a really good-looking guy. He still looks young. He still looks full of enthusiasm. The Bay Crits certainly was the basis for steering him back into the big time a year ago. But when we interviewed him quite a lot on the podcast, Dan, he never ever was sort of down in the mouth, depressed. He was always positive, even though he says, I've got no contract yet, but he never ever gave us any impression he was particularly worried. The door opened in the January, and by the July, he was the stage winner of the Tour de France. The whole world was turned around.
Beautiful story.
No, it's a great story, and couldn't happen to a nicer guy, frankly.
Well, the video is just processing iffy, so what we'll do is we'll have a quick break, and then we'll flash back to the day after Simon Clarke's amazing win at the Tour de France. But before we do, we've got a very special video to plug your Name Your Right sponsor for the Bay Crits, so enjoy.
Breathe in, breathe out. Here, you're surrounded by silence. You feel in total harmony with your movement, with the world. Here, you simply feel serene, at peace.
All new Citroen C5X.
There you go. Get down to your local Citroen dealer. I picked up a couple of polos from Brett. Great to meet Brett, who you gave a shout out before, and he showed me the race car for the Bay Crits, and it's perfect for cyclists because it fits all your gear in the back, looks sporty, and I think he said they're floating around $65,000. So,
mate, I'm driving one as well, exactly the same, painted up exactly the same. It's actually got a Jake Alula sticker on the back door as well because I've managed to wangle it for the team. So they're going to be using them for the whole month for the all of the summer races. So it's going down under and Cadell's and all of that as well. So
you double dip the chip.
Double dip the chip. Yeah. But Brett's got
some live comments. Philip Russell says, great to see the band back together again. I've been missing my detours. Dale Simon says, crits on brand, fellas. Even the Citroen logo looks like the hot dog circuits. It does a bit.
Does too.
Tom Maloney says, g'day guys, great to see you back. He says, seems like Iffy might have got the hots for Phil Anderson. And Chris Stableson says, g'day from Florida. G'day, Chris. Ooh. And as we said earlier, we're going to flash back. This is Simon Clarke after his amazing stage win, and I managed to steal. Oh, I didn't steal. I got given a cobblestone. That caused a bit of a fracas, but I didn't get locked up. So you got to look at the positives. So here's Simon Clarke the morning after his amazing stage win.
Hey, mate. Simon Clarke, mate. Mate, after your interview yesterday morning, I didn't even salute when I won yesterday.
Oh, too scared. Mate, you were a shoo-in for the Ride of the Day award from SBS Sport. You get the Kango, but mate, I struggle to find the words to describe what you've done. It's incredible.
What a day, what a day. I still can't quite believe it, and I still didn't believe I'd won when I crossed the line. I thought I was too far back on Taco, and I just said to myself, you're just going to have to throw your bike as hard as you can and hope for the best. And yeah, I got to my masseur and he's like, did you win? I said, no, I don't think I did. But yeah, it turns out it was enough.
And at the start of the day, Demers comes up and says, mate, you can go get in the break. You had that opportunity. You've performed well in the first week of Grand Tours before, and mate, you just took your chance, and what a stage to win.
That's it. Yeah, I've been biding my time. I really have been trying to take it easy, particularly in Denmark. Really, I was there to support Jakob, but whenever I wasn't, I was really taking it easy, and I just said, as soon as I get this green light, I'm going to make it count. Demers is such a value to this team. He hasn't been a director for very long, but you wouldn't know it. You'd think he'd been director for 10 years already. So he's such a huge value to this team, and the effort, months of effort and planning and organisation, particularly for a day like yesterday, that he's done to make that happen. Give me the opportunity to do what I did yesterday is immense, and so I can't thank the Demers and the Dempster and the performance team enough for their preparation for yesterday. We had completely different bikes and wheels and everything. We had a complete setup just for yesterday, and I think probably most teams did, but there's a lot of organising that goes in to make that happen.
And what makes it so incredible and emotional is your story. Like, we've talked about it before, but not having a contract at the end of last year, and I mean the lessons that not just cycling fans but anyone can take from your story. Some guys would have said around Christmas, you know what, don't have a contract, that might be it, but you didn't.
Yeah, look, I mean, you can say never give up, or you can do it. So I'm always the optimist. So to be honest, I've already forgotten about this off season and what I went through, and I always try and look forward and not dwell on the past. And sure, it was a tough time, but what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And I've really, it's been a real reality check to me, in the sense to make me appreciate every moment and every opportunity. Like yesterday, you don't have a team, and then suddenly you're in a breakaway, and maybe you could win a stage of the Tour de France. Don't pass that up. And probably not having a team at the start of this year gave me that extra bit of hunger to get it over the line yesterday.
And what was the scenes like last night? It's always big after a stage win, but I mean that just would have
it was very special. It's also the first Tour de France stage win for this team and for the Israel Premier Tech outfit, so it was a huge achievement also for the team yesterday.
Now finally, I've got another trinket. I love my trinkets. This is a cobblestone from the race route, thanks to our friends at the Flandrian Hotel. We were going to get it mounted, but the guy in Belgium, he had a big night, the trophy guy. So Matt Heyman, Stuart O'Grady, now Simon Clarke, you have a stone off from the cobbles, mate.
Hey, thank you very much. I really appreciate that.
No worries, mate. You deserve it.
How good's that?
Zach Dempster. Yeah, big day. But I actually got a cobblestone as well. I didn't want to put it in my hand luggage because it would have put me over a couple of kilos. It probably would have cost me about $400 to get it home.
Should have brought it back, maybe worth more than that. Now, you were about to interview Zach Dempster, but the interesting little connection with all of that, Zach Dempster, as we know, boy from Bendigo, Castlemaine, a very good bike rider himself, but not to that level, but was the DS there and got the job as overall boss of racing for the whole Israel Premier Tech team. He got hijacked by Ineos. And so at the last minute, just weeks ago, they said, I'm sorry, he had to apologise, I'm leaving. And so he's gone to Ineos as a high-performance director, which is an amazing job. And another little connection, talked about BJ.
I don't know if they've announced that yet, John, so you're breaking news.
Yeah, no, they have. It's out there.
Are they?
BJ,
well, it is now.
When he won, it is now. When BJ won the Bay Crits many years ago, it was an almost photo finish on the last stage where he beat Zach. Zach had the yellow jersey. He beat Zach to take the yellow jersey off him to win the Bay Series. So there you go. The Bay Crits just keep popping up, mate.
What impresses me the most about Zach is he's obviously still young, but I think the modern day cycling, modern day sport is that connection and how to understand how to navigate particularly younger riders and get the best out of their performance. But he's also calls a spade. So when he was at the Tour de France, he was having meetings and so forth, and he was very honest because the whole talk about the relegation points and, Israel, they're going to get relegated and all this stuff. And he was very open. He said, we should never have been in this position, guys. It's no point pointing fingers going, oh, the system's broken. No, we need to fix things so that we're never in this position and take responsibility for it and move on. And and shelve that, because the amount of energy, as you know, Phil, in the media, like it was all talked about the actual system, whereas Zach was trying to keep the focus on, no, take responsibility that we should have never been in this position.
Well, that's a good attitude to take, because I think everybody except the UCI felt the system was failing, and they've sort of thrown a little bit of a helpline out to Premier Tech. They're going to be almost certainly in all of the races, even though they'll be relegated officially.
They're guaranteed to start in every World Tour race except the Grand Tours.
Yes.
So all of the monuments they're in, and they will get a start in the Tour de France.
And I think the rules will be changed wholesalely over the next year.
So they're lucky. And they're here. They'll be racing in Tour Down Under and Cadell's race too.
Another rider that
expensive license either.
Exactly. Well, I was talking to Alan Davis, and he said, obviously he's with Lotto Soudal. What are they going to be called next year, Iffy? I think they've got a new sponsor or rebranding.
DSTY, I think it is.
Lotto Destiny.
Yeah, DSTY.
Destiny, something like that. Yeah.
But I think he said it actually not being in the World Tour wasn't too bad for them, because I think they're still going to get to all the big races. And
they're guaranteed. They're guaranteed Giro and Tour and all the classic that they want to ride. So it's not really too bad. They might be a shoe in for the Vuelta, but if Caleb wants to ride it, they'll get in.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Well, I was just going to say, Caleb Ewan is the rider that I'm going to be watching in the Aussie Summer of Cycling. I thought he might have been a late call up for the Bay Crits, but word is he's super motivated after last year. Couldn't get the logistics.
I couldn't get across.
You would have done a Robbie McEwen and held up the start if his flight was running late.
One of the classic Bay Crits it was. And you're right there. It was Williamstown, which was the first race of that series. And the plane got held up. They got diverted to Sydney. They were flying down from Brisbane. There was him, Nick Gates, and I can't remember. There was another rider there.
Hank Vogels?
No, it was Jonathan Campbell. Yep. And the late, wonderful Jonathan Campbell. Anyway, they got held there, and then finally we heard that they landed. But so we kept moving the race out. I putting other things on, and people started saying, "You can't do that." That's why we're doing it, because and it turned out. So we had live coverage. One of the radio stations still coming down because it was news. The race had been held up, and the taxi pulled up. Maxi taxi pulled up on the start line, unloaded the bikes, and we got the back page the next day of the full back page of the Herald Sun, which we would not have got normally. So it was a plus.
Yeah.
So what scandals you got lined up tomorrow?
Now something will happen. We do push things close to the wind. There's a wonderful little story which I will fess up to. So we put together a really good team of internationals with Novotel, our hotel, and we've got the thing here, Novotel and Prestige Jayco, the local Geelong Jayco dealer, wonderful supporters of cycling. And so in that team is Simon Clarke. So we've got Simon Clarke, a young Dutch rider, World Championship rider, Roy Efting, Ben Hill, Cameron Ivory, Del Margrave. And in the women's, they've got a really good team because they've got Valentina Scandalara and Amanda Spratt. So great team we put together. Ordered their jerseys. Good mate of mine, Desi, ordered the jerseys. Got a real quick deal. Everyone approved it, got it done quickly. And then COVID hit. So 4 days ago, they were in the factory but couldn't leave, and no one was at the factory. All of Shanghai was closed. The factory was closed. And only yesterday I went out and got a whole stack of stickers made so that we put them onto a plain jersey. So at least we're going to look terrible, but it's all we could do. And then he said, there is a glimmer of hope. They've left. They're on their way. They got to Sydney late last night. He said, if they get in before 12:30 today, I can get them. And at 12:25... The jerseys turned up today, and we've got them.
Well, that is an iffy story. You're like a cat, mate. You just keep falling on your paws.
Yeah.
That's what Jerry used to say. He was the cat. You drive 20k away, throw it out into the paddocks, drive home, and the cat's there to meet you.
Yeah. So who's your predictions, Iffy? Who's going to win the women's? Who's going to win the men's?
Gee, you put me on the spot. Okay. The men's is a ripper. The feel good story would be Quickie. It would be Clarkey, because that would be just a wonderful, Rocky type finale to what happened last January.
Yeah.
But
he's not won it yet.
Well, he was so good in the two big races last year. Gee, I only caught him both times he was away. I only caught him in the last lap. Look, Blake Quick's very hard to go past him. He is so fast. There's some good young kids in there. But that twist is BJ could just be the man. Final race, he's capable of winning. We know that. And the women, look, Ruby and Georgia, they're good mates. They both ride for Jaco Alula, the new name of Jerry's team. And they're in the same team, Bayside Citroen, which that one will ride for the other. So whoever goes better on the first day will end up, I would think. But, Chloe Hosking, gee, she's won it twice before, and she's not in a happy place at the moment because she was part of that disastrous B&B team that collapsed, which I noticed Schultze, Aussie, had gone over there. He's been grabbed by Israel, so he's gone to Israel, which is wonderful for next year. But Chloe hasn't got a team at this stage, so she will be, and she's got a good teammate, some good teammates there as well to help her. So we'll have some good racing here with Peter Mullins and those in the is it what's the name of their team? Rock Salt. Right, yeah, Rock Salt, which is a very strong team. And of course Valentina Scandalara, who has won this race.
She's always done well. I thought she'd retired, right?
Yeah, I reckon the women's race it's probably going to be even more exciting. I think there's so many opportunities there. Men's race, some great stars there, but some real strong teams that will control the race more so. Yeah.
Well, no doubt the fans are going to be pretty excited to see the voice of cycling back down under. Free Ranger says, welcome to Oz, Phil. Skull, he's talking about you feed 9 lives. And Martin Grosvenor says, g'day, Phil, good to see you. You must be excited getting back among the fans, Phil.
Yeah, I am. I've always enjoyed country. We've had some classic escapes over the years around the Eastern Gardens. And we've had so much fun getting the crowd involved and enjoying life. For me, I've got to learn how to commentate again, of course, because it's been a while. I haven't commentated on a race since the Tour of Langkawi in October. I'll slip into it once I start recognising the riders. Because these are, in 3 years, a lot of these kids I've never seen race before. But I'm sure I'll have Matt Keenan to jack me up.
Matty Keenan's doing the actual broadcast, so he won't be standing next to you because he'll be in a different studio. But Dave McKenzie will be there to you. Yeah, and Paddy Shaw, of course, who knows every rider and everything they've done in the last since they've had breakfast 3 years ago.
I should be okay. They'll give me time.
I think we'll be fine. I just noticed just before that Tommy Maloney sent a couple of messages. I caught up with Tom because Tom's had a horrific crash of his mountain bike recently with hips and rebuilds and whatever. And at one stage I was saying he wouldn't be able to ride a bike again because he loves his bike. But he's back. And Tommy, you like to know this because we often talk about different races and that we did. But I remember when I first went to Europe in '73 when I met Trish Liggett when she was working with Ronnie Webb, and we were racing a race in London at Crystal Palace called the Brian Robinson Grand Prix. And I got a text from a guy. He said, I remember you, John, from the Brian Robinson Grand Prix where you and Tom Maloney closed the gap. I said, well, Tommy, we were talking about that at Austral Night only just a week ago. So there you go. Small world.
It is a small world. Well, it's obviously New Year's Eve. People are probably gearing up, ready to go out and hit the town iffy. And I suppose on behalf of all of us, we want to thank everyone for all their support in 2022 and since the inception of the podcast. And in particular, sponsors like Bike Exchange that were massive support, and Jerry with Mitchelton and Let's Go Motorhomes and everyone that's been behind the scenes with the show. It's been fantastic.
Yeah, look, just to reiterate that with you, Dan, it's been a wonderful journey. The detour, you and I just love it, and we have a lot of fun, and we've got some serious fans, which is fantastic, and we deliver news a bit differently, as they say, and we have some fun. But we've got some really loyal fans who have been contacting me a lot lately. And I said, no, we'll be back this year. We'll be back for the end of the year. Just. But it's been sensational. We've had, as you mentioned, Bike Exchange, who have been absolutely amazing. We had Lexus Blackburn in the early days, who were also great, but all our sponsors. And the same with the Bay Crits. I mean, the state government have been a huge supporter of the Bay Crits over the years. Without the financial support from the state government, we wouldn't be operating. Same with the City of Geelong. And 1989 was the first one. City of Geelong was a partner back then, and they still are. They've even stepped up, so they're amazing. Got the Spirit of Tasmania on board now. So they now come into Geelong. It's a fantastic setup. I was down there just a couple of days ago. Brilliant setup there, and they're sponsoring all the kids' races, and of course Mitchelton and the Drapac family with the Damien Drapac Trophy, but the Boobup Foundation, Santini, of course, who do our clothing, Novotel, SPS. Hey, live streamed every day. So the elite races are going to be live streamed every day. And Dan, you're going to be a big part of that. You've got the studio set up at your place, which you've got your own studio.
Yeah, so no pressure.
No pressure. There was a little bit of pressure this morning, but we got through that. That's all good.
Yeah, all good.
And it's going to be great. So, and I'd like to put a real shout out to Karen Jones, who is my partner in the event, who does all the hard work. I just take the glory, do all the handshaking and whatever, and she does the real work with her husband Chris and her whole family on their way down to Geelong right now to set up first thing in the morning. And hey, it's hard for me too. I've got to go New Year's Eve tonight here at the Prince, where we're enjoying it with Jerry, and I know Jerry will bring out some very, very special reds tonight. And then I've got to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and get down for the start. So,
oh, you poor thing.
Yeah,
well, I can tell you sponsors have stepped up. That looks like a new shirt, John.
It is. It's actually a resurrected shirt. It's a shirt that I found at the end of the wardrobe. It's about 5 years old. I only ever wore it once in case. Why do you put this on? Oh, I don't like it. She said, put it on. It looks good on. Oh, okay. There you go.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Perfect. Well, it's great to see you back in Australia, Phil, and it'd be great to catch up with you in person, mate. So I'll get the clobber on.
Very nice one. Very nice.
Yeah, I'll get the clobber on, bit of powder, bit of cologne, and I'll come down and have a with you.
Can't leave out the likes of Gatesy, who are doing the TV. He did the first one in 1989. Yeah. Gatesy did the TV, and he's still doing it now. Yeah. So he's a legend. Same with Koza, Ian Cohen, and Koza Live. They're great people doing all that media stuff. Look, it's all of these races. Cheryl Mariner just opened the Mitchelton Priest.
Pinot Gris.
Yeah.
And Philip Russell wants to know, what time's the stream start? Log on at 3:30 tomorrow.
Yeah, we're going to do
just before that, 3:25
of the support race of the Damien Drapac. Whack that into the start of the full streaming. So the elite men's and women's are all live. Yep.
Yeah. So log on to SBS Sport on YouTube or Facebook, and you'll be able to stream it live for the next 3 days. So Jan 1 to 3. So it's going to be fantastic. Thanks for joining us again, Phil. Great to see you back in Australia, mate. And as we said, Happy New Year to all the listeners and viewers, and thanks again for all your support.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Anything you want to add before we go, Johnny?
No, Dan. Have a great New Year's Eve tonight. I think you were thinking about trying to get down here for a quick one, but you might run out of time, I think. But if you do, we'd love to have one. I'd love to have a beer with you to commemorate or to celebrate. Celebrate the year gone by. And a shout out to a good mate of mine, Tommy Hill, old racing mate of mine, who has had a couple of challenges, but he's out of hospital yesterday and on the way back. He's a tough nut.
Good stuff. Thanks, guys. We'll see you again, hopefully sometime soon in 2023. Stay tuned to all our socials, and we'll keep you updated. See you soon.
Yeah, big Happy New Year to everyone. Absolutely.
Good on you, mate. See you guys.